Hi everyone, welcome back to Tiffany with Purpose, where I provide faith-based content with purpose and inspire you to do the same. I always share according to what the Lord places on my heart, and today that is just a little chat. I want to talk to you guys about something that just has been pressing on my heart this whole week, really. And it's a conversation about consecrating yourself to the Lord and destiny. The Lord has had me really thinking about his walk with Abraham, right? And how God really has all things under control. Everything he is holding in his hands, he knows the exact timing for every single thing, and how deep it is that that timing involves things that are outside of our legitimate time. Like, God's timing is not our timing, but that's because God is keeping up with generations all at the same time, that he sees the beginning and the end all at the same time. We are only able to perceive a moment. We can't even do that clearly, but God knows all the things that are working together and that need to happen at an appointed time and all of these things. So thinking about Abram's story and how God sets Abram apart when he's 75, right? And this is when he tells Abraham what he's going to do, that his descendants will be as many as the stars in the sky. As many as the stars in the sky and the number of the grains of sand or whatever. And he tells Abram that at 75, but that promise does not come to pass until he was 100. I think before maybe I didn't think as deeply about that, only to understand that, one, God's timing is not our timing, which is an important factor to this thing, but also that there are components to waiting. There are things that happen while you're waiting. When you think about what happens, right? Abram is told that thing when he's 75. It does not come to pass until he was 100. However, in that time, he began to know God. God looked out for Abraham. He led him. He told him where to go. He told him what to do. He provided for him. He protected him. And he corrected him as well. And that was their relationship. God's up here. Abraham's down here. He's just doing what he says. But when Abram turns 99, that is when things change. That is when God now requires something of Abraham, right? This is when God calls Abraham into covenant with him. He says, I will be your God. You need to circumcise yourself in all the males of your camp, and that'll be your oath to me, basically, that you will consecrate yourself to me, and this will be the sign. And that's when Abram's 99, okay? It is now that destiny is released to Abraham once he consecrates himself to the Lord. A year later is when Sarah gives birth to Isaac. 1 year later, he'd waited 25 years, but at the point where he consecrated himself, it only took 1 year for that thing to come to pass. And also in that, when he's 99, this is when God calls Abraham friend. He doesn't call him friend before. He calls him by the regular name that he was given by his dad. And then once Abraham consecrates himself to the Lord, he receives a new name. He's always had an inkling about his destiny, but now he receives a name that matches that thing. Now he receives a position that matches that thing. That naming gave him the position as the father of nations. It was not given to him until he consecrated himself to the Lord. And now this is when God calls him friend, when God is sending the angels to go destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, right? This is when God says, shall we tell our friend Abram what we're going to do, since basically I'm going to use him to cause these plans to come into the earth. So now it's like he's in there and God is sharing these things, certain things with him that others do not know. And I just want to highlight this story because, one, it's something that I have experienced. There are things that God told me a long time ago, some things over a decade ago, that have not necessarily happened fully yet. It was not until a year ago that God made me consecrate myself to him in a way that I never had before. When I'm talking about surrender, I'm talking about laying everything down. I'm talking about I get to a point And it's just like, I have absolutely nothing except for your word, that there's nothing I can stand on except for what you have said. Surrender at a whole new level. I'm talking about taking his word at face value, and not only for encouraging my own faith that you said this, so you're going to do it. No, you also said, do this, don't do this, and I'm going to do those things in reverence to you. And regardless of what the reward may be or not, I'm going to do these things regardless of what it looks like, regardless of whomever feelings might get hurt in the crossfire. I'm not concerned about that. You are my God, and I'm going to act like that. In this year, I can't even, I don't have the words to describe what has happened, but what I will say in this consecration, the Lord has called me friend. He has shown me things that others do not know about myself, right? Also some things about other things, but not the point. He called me to consecrate myself to him in this way, and destiny is happening. He's released certain things into my hands. And what I want to encourage everyone to do is, if and only if, because ultimately you can't do anything outside of God's timing, right? There's an appointed time for all the things. But I do believe, and this is just based off of what God has been revealing to me lately and the conversations that I keep having with people, with different people, it's along the same lines. If God is calling you to this place of consecration, yield to that, because he's going to give you your identity. He's going to tell you who you are, and he's going to give you the position. Just like he did Abraham. He told him he was going to be a father of nations, but he gave him the name and the position to match. He's going to tell you who you are. It's going to change some things. It's going to shift up some things. He had to circumcise all the males in the camp. That's different, okay? That's a new level of things that they had never been required to do before. It's going to cause you to be required to do some things that you've never done before, and it may affect others around you. Yield to it. If God is calling you into that space, yield to it, because destiny is on the other side. It took not that much time for what God promised to come to pass. And so what I'm emphasizing here, only if God is calling you into that space, because you can't force his hand. And doing that outside of the timeline that he has for your life is not going to cause those things to happen. But he's calling you to that because things are about to happen. So yield, enjoy the ride, and know also that you don't need to be concerned about anything that has happened before. You just do what God is telling you to do now. That's the only thing that matters. You have the power, and God tells us to let go of the things of the past. Don't worry about that. Don't ponder on those things. Keep them out of your mind. I'm doing something new. That's Isaiah 43:18. I'm doing something new. Will you not perceive it? Okay, yield and get ready. Enjoy yourself. I don't know what's coming for you. You would know, or you're going to find out along the way, but do it. Everything's fine. It'll be fun.